So I first realized that I was poor in Mrs. Laverne's fourth grade class. It was the second or third day of school, and she was taking the lunch count. And she asked how many kids were buying hot lunch, and a bunch of hands went up. And then she asked how many kids were buying cold lunch, and some more hands went up. And then she asked how many kids are getting free lunch, not buying, but getting. And my hand went up. And up until that moment, I really hadn't realized that my family was poor, but we were. Now, we weren't destitute. There was food on the table, but the portions were small, and to get seconds, you had to eat really fast. I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and it really was a competition to see who could get to the next meal. And then one day, my friend Peter Archambault and I were riding from his house to my house on our bikes. He was coming over for dinner. And he lived a couple miles from me, and he had a brand new 10-speed bike. And I had a rusted iron Huffy with knobby knees that weighed probably 60 pounds. And I had always been competitive with Peter on our bikes. And so he hopped on his 10-speed, and I got on my Huffy, and we raced to my house. And within 30 seconds, Peter was 50 yards ahead of me. And so I started pumping really hard. Like, if my heart could have exploded that day, that's how hard I pumped those wheels. I rode like I had never ridden before. And I could not catch up to Peter. And I also noticed that Peter wasn't even trying. That he was moving his legs barely and getting ahead of me. I realized that my problem was money. I was never going to own a 10-speed bike. And I was never going to catch Peter again. And I cried the whole ride home. And when I got home and I pulled in the driveway, Peter's bike was already parked right near my front door. And I went into my house, and Peter was already sitting at the dinner table with my 2 brothers and my 2 sisters. And I remember my first thought was, I better sit down and I better eat fast, because there's another person at the table, and there's no way I'm going to get seconds tonight.